Hello and welcome to CD_Games, the show where we take a look at old games through reviews and retrospectives. In our first episode, we're going to be taking a look at Police Quest 1, the crime drama brought to you by these fine folks at Sierra Online. Now, one of the things that really set this game apart was the title card. Let's have a look. I'm still taken aback at how emotive this title card is, despite the lack of graphics, despite the lack of incredible sound quality. It still generates excitement. I still get shivers when I'm about to play this game. And it's because of that title card. It feels like I'm about to be a part of a TV show. And the game continues that. The narrative is very much that of an 80s cop drama. And when you were playing this in the 80s, it made it all the more special. You really felt like you were in some sort of Hollywood production. And you really did feel that if you got full points for this game, you could become a policeman. That's what my 8-year-old brain thought anyway. Before reviewing this game itself, it's worth exploring the genre a little bit, because there might be some of you who are unfamiliar with this. This is an adventure game, and not an adventure game that you might be used to. Today's adventure games have a lot of action elements in them. Back in the 80s, action elements were really frowned upon. If you required that, you were seen as a bit of a savage. So Sierra Online developed a series of adventure games, quests as we called them at the time, and essentially it took the text adventure principle. There's a map, objects, and a parser interface with object-verb interactions. And a big part of the game was guessing which verbs and objects had been programmed into the game. This could be a massive source of frustration, but it could also be a massive source of fun. Police Quest came under a lot of criticism for being a game that relied on the handbook and manual far too much. So there are certain puzzles in this game that I feel you could only pass if you had the manual. It seemed like the game was built to be copy protection, as opposed to be a game built on puzzles. Having said that, there was also a huge element of fun to guessing what words the programmers had put into this game. And it is one of the earliest games, if not the earliest game, that I can remember having an Easter egg in. And a lot of that came down to the deaths. Sierra was famous for their deaths. And if you weren't using your F5, save, and F7, restore, regularly, then you hadn't played Sierra games. Anyone who's ever played a Sierra game would have an F5 and F7 button that was worn more than the NUDES keys on current keyboards. Now in Police Quest, one of the biggest culprits for wearing down that F7 key was the driving mechanism. And this is something that really split the public on. A lot of people disliked it for the reason that I gave you earlier, where adventure gamers back then did not want any elements of arcade or action as part of their game. So a lot of people saw the driving mechanism as a way of sneaking in an arcade game into what should have been an adventure game. I personally didn't mind it. I found that I was getting a game within a game, or at least that's how I treated it. Sometimes I would load up the game and just drive around and get on the highway and see how long I could drive for without crashing. But if you were driving at top speed, you were bound to crash at some point. Now, while driving was one of the big culprits for death in Police Quest, there were very many ways to die in this game. I think you would be hard-pressed to find another Quest game in which there were so many ways to die. Part of this was because they wanted to make it as procedurally accurate as possible. So if you didn't follow procedure, you would die. A lot of these deaths involved being naked in the police station, which I find a little bit odd still to this day. But there were some ways you would expect to die. If you go into a biker bar and you are unarmed and a fight breaks out, you're going to die. You crash your car, we saw. You're going to die. But if you leave your police car door open, your car's going to get stolen every single time. This is a seriously crime-ridden community. Okay, so we've had a look at a couple of the ways you can die in this game, but we should probably also look at the storyline. It's pretty solid. And As I mentioned earlier, it's worthy of 80s cop dramas, the ones that we would watch on TV at the time. You play Officer Sonny Bonds, and you start out as a beat cop. You're writing tickets to people who are speeding, people who are drinking and driving. And then you happen across a fairly suspicious crash. This results in you being promoted to narcotics. You end up breaking up drug deals, identifying kingpins, and ultimately going undercover to break up illegal gambling and drug dealing at a local hotel. It all culminates in you taking down Jesse Baines, the Death Angel from the title card, and a parade. All in all, I've got to give this 4 floppies out of 5. Great game.